Good Wednesday morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. We are in the midst of a series called Amazing Encounters with God. And yesterday we talked about the manna and quail that fed the Israelites as they were wandering in the desert and how they saw it, how it must have increased their faith. And yet they still had doubts, thinking that God would let them die of thirst in the wilderness, that he couldn't provide rain or water. Uh, and he didn't provide rain. He provided water from a rock. Remember that yesterday? An amazing encounter with God. So I'm going to tell you today about, in a way, a kind of similar experience that Diane and I had. We didn't see manna. We didn't see quail exactly, but we saw God just drop things on us out of the blue. And it built our faith to this very day. We still have that faith. We kind of laughed about it at the time. Why would we laugh? Just because there were no other explanations the way that things were happening. The situation was, it was in the early 80s, and we were living in Easton, Pennsylvania. I was a national sales director for one of the divisions of Crayola Company. And we really had decided that it was time to move back home here to Southern California, Orange County specifically, because there just were no churches that we could attend and that we wanted to raise our kids in. And so we were ready to sell our home and move back and quit the company. And then we thought, just out of the blue, we said, yeah, but what about the people here? They still will have no church to go to that preaches the word of God from what we viewed as the right way to interpret it, and meaning not judgmental, not legalistic, but with the joy of the Lord. And so we said, well, then, Lord, would you want us? You wouldn't want us to start a church here, would you? We had a minor amount of experience, having helped start Voyagers Bible Church in Irvine prior to moving to Pennsylvania, but not as the lead pastor, and not as, that was with a lot of help from Mariners Church. That one was. But where we were out in this kind of rural situation in Pennsylvania. And so we just said, well, here's what we'll do. We'll just start on the process as best we know it. And Lord, our prayer was, if we didn't hear from the Lord that He was going to bless it and drop little, manna from the sky, or even bring anybody that would ever want to be a part of it. And so we didn't know what to expect, but we just decided to go forward and then just pray, Lord, feel free to stop us at any time, and we'll just move home and we'll be perfectly fine and happy. But then, with that attitude that we would keep going forward, we just started seeing God drop things on us from the very beginning. And so we kept moving forward. We kept moving forward. What was the first thing when I look back? We just had this idea that we would start a Bible study on a Friday night in our home. And so I printed brochures. Actually, I should pull one out. I still have them. We named this Friday night event Forks, Forks, Forks Christian Fellowship. We were living in a suburb of a city called Easton. And I say a suburb, there were only 1,000 people that lived in this suburb. So it was extremely rural. And the big city only had 30,000. But we printed brochures as if we knew what we were doing. And we passed them out. We we actually had decided that we would not pass out flyers in the church that we were attending because we did not want to start by the way, the church we were attending was in the next state over in New Jersey. And but we didn't want any split in a church. So we didn't pass out those flyers to any, well, one couple who was our neighbor. But we didn't know if anyone would come. We didn't know. And we just said, bring something to share. We'll have a potluck dinner beforehand, and we will uh, study the Bible together. And so we didn't know. And what would you guess that happened? I so the night came. We actually even had arranged for a paid babysitter, not knowing, well, we knew we would need that, but we would made it available to everyone. But that night, I'm guessing, I can't totally remember, but I think it was something like 10 to 12 people came that very first night, and we were amazed. Lord, is this, and we did not use the term manna, but Lord, is this the start? Is this what you're giving us? And it was just a great night of fellowship. And that little Bible study continued for a while, continued to grow. And we decided eventually, we tell them a few months later, would you all like to help start a new church here in Easton, Pennsylvania? And we didn't know even if they'd want to do that. We didn't know what to do if they said yes, really. But they did say yes, that there is a need and we would help start that church. And as I recall, there were no more than two couples from any one church by the time we started. So where do you go? Where do you meet? And schools were not available to us. Well, we had no money anyway. But a friend of mine, just an acquaintance, heard that we were thinking of meeting, and he had a small Montessori school in downtown Easton, and he asked me, would you like to have the new church meet in that Montessori school for no rent?" Are you kidding me? It's like, where did that come from? And guess what? In the fall of, I think, 1982, we started Cornerstone Church in a Montessori school down in Easton, Pennsylvania. And God had just absolutely, one step at a time, one step at a time. So we had a place to meet, but we have no music. I can't play it. And this lady says, who is this part of this small group, who's now going to be starting a church. Well, I can play piano. Great. We have no piano. And then we go to a garage sale, and I think for $10 or something, we get an electric keyboard, and that became our music. I'm telling you, it's one tiny, tiny step at a time. Every one of them amazed us. It was like God just dropping it out of the sky. And it was phenomenal. So we had music and we started meeting. And I'll never forget that Christmas, our first Christmas, it was 0 degrees in Easton, and this Montessori school was, we all had to wear heavy, heavy coats inside because it was so cold. The heat did not match up. And I'm going to tell you more amazing things just about this. Watching God work. That's all it was. Watching God work tomorrow. See you then.